this morning I've been giving IVs to all of them. And 2 of them didn't get IVs because they're like healthy.
And who's the sickest one in here?
Sickest one, Danny, because he hasn't been eating that well.
Is he going to get better?
Eventually, if I just keep doing what I'm doing with him, you know?
Years ago, children with disabilities and chronic illnesses had a different lifestyle than they do today. Advances in medicine are changing this picture. They bring hope to many families, but they bring extreme challenges as well.
How do you know all this, Asha?
Well, because, you know, I lived through some problems and things like that,
So
you know?
from your experiences, you were able to know all this stuff, huh?
Yeah.
When a child is discharged from the hospital, or when families receive the chronic diagnosis, they need help to function at home. It's the impact of all these facets of chronic life, not just the illness, that seems insurmountable. And if this is not enough, there are serious insurance and financial pressures, school problems, socialization, and other community issues. 15%, or 10 to 12 million kids in the United States are living with chronic illness and/or disabilities. Families know that care like this requires a partnership where parents are full members of the healthcare team.
Yes.
Pediatricians are our best hope to help families with the adjustments to chronic life. Yet, they are educated in hospitals where there is little opportunity to learn about family life with chronic conditions. Project DOCC helps them bridge this gap.
What Project DOCC promised to do and is doing today is helping the healthcare system, particularly pediatricians, understand what is involved in caring for a chronically ill child at home.
Through their own experiences, the parents who founded Project DOCC saw the possibility of organizing a curriculum to give pediatric residents a chance to learn what it's like to live in families with kids with chronic illness.
My twins were born at 27 weeks, and I was totally thrilled in spite of their teeny tiny probe-laden, line-crowded, bird-like bodies. But our first year was full of events for which I was totally unprepared. I became a walking directory of resources, assembled all by myself. We had a collage of eye surgeries and stomach surgeries and different feeding modalities, and a legion of educators, therapists, and doctors. Molly was fed intravenously. She was blind, in supportive seating, developmentally disabled, and showed an impressive array of seizures. Meanwhile, Jacob had serious feeding problems and cerebral palsy, and we came to find out he had pervasive developmental disorder. A year and a half later, I had a new healthy baby, Rosie. But my marriage and my insurance both gave way. I had to scramble to find a Medicaid program to give us the insurance to continue Molly's care.
Our daughter, Ashley, was a newborn when she was diagnosed with albinism and visual impairment. Ultimately, she was diagnosed with Hermansky-Pudlak syndrome, a very rare genetic disease which carries with it a bleeding disorder and colitis. Ashley has had 63 hospital admissions and 134 transfusions of blood products. And as a consequence of medication, she's fractured her back 3 times. We were devastated at first, but what got us through, and what gets us through, was finding a doctor who told us that he didn't know much about this condition, but that he would share our care and concern and work with us to find answers.
Our son, John James, acted like a healthy child until about 11 months, when he began to lose his motor skills. There are no words to express what it's like watching your child deteriorate before your eyes. JJ has a progressive neurotransmitter pathway disease and recently has developed a severe movement disorder, which causes periods of uncontrollable thrashing. One problem for us and for JJ is that he cannot communicate verbally, yet he is a sports-loving, fun-loving, now 8-year-old boy, locked in a body which constantly defeats him.
As we met and talked about managing our particular issues, we realized that there were crucial elements that allowed us to stay sane and care for our kids. For one thing, we had all searched for and found a doctor who would partner with us in the field, in our home and community.
Also, we all had found information about local resources, which we so desperately needed. Referrals which would have come from doctors had they known and understood those needs. We had learned how referrals are linked to developmental needs and that these resources change with a child's growth. And we knew that profound feeling of social isolation from peers with healthy children, and our need to find a parent-to-parent support group for companionship and for networking information.
When I finally faced the fact that our search for a cure was not going to come fast, I vowed that I would try to help doctors look past the illness to understand that JJ, and other kids for that matter, could have a better quality of life than what doctors perceived of our children.
Wow, okay.
That became one of our major tenets in Project DOCC. Doctors can help parents develop a better quality of life for our kids.
Armed with ideals and a concept, these parents found someone to champion their cause. Patty Weiner provided the critical link between the parents and the hospital by encouraging the development of a parent-directed curriculum.
I so strongly believed in the message of Project DOCC that it would be able to give the residents here at our hospital the opportunity to understand the parent perspective. And it was with this that the co-founders ventured on and created Project DOCC, and that parents became so critically involved in the training of house staff.
We felt, after discussion with these parents, that we needed to show pediatric residents in training a wider perspective of what it is to take care of children with chronic illness. The curriculum was entirely developed by parents. The home visit, the parent interview, and the grand rounds were naturals to integrate into the training program for developmental and behavioral pediatrics.
A group of mothers came to me in my role as the person who's in charge of educating the young doctors to go into their pediatric careers. They came to me to say that they thought they could help me. And I was a little bit cynical at the time, thinking, how are they going to help me? And but they opened my eyes unbelievably that we were teaching medicine in an archaic way. We were looking at it from the point of view, how do you take care of a child who's acutely very ill? You know, how do you take care of them in the intensive care unit? How do you take care of them when they have acute serious illnesses? Not really understanding what the long-term sequelae is and how it affects the family in a very, very deep way. And we got our minds blown by their educational process, and we then decided to actually formally integrate it into our training program for the young doctors, and it has been a smashing success.
The value of Project DOCC at the Marcus Institute is that it has been a very well thought out, very carefully constructed program that allowed us to adapt it very easily to our pediatric residency training program.
Project DOCC delivers its education through parent teachers who work in 3 components. First, there is a grand rounds presentation where attending physicians and residents hear from a panel of parents about their children and their lives. Then, a home visit, where residents visit the home of a child with a chronic illness and hear not only how the family lives its daily lives, but also how other parents handle similar situations. Finally, there is a parent interview. The resident questions a parent about the impact of the illness from the day of diagnosis to the present, according to a chronic illness history.
It changed my entire perspective towards medicine, because prior to that, I thought patient as an illness. After that, I started thinking that they do have a life.
Project DOCC for our residents fills a gap in their medical education that's not otherwise met. I think for the parents, it's a wonderful way of teaching the residents what they have had to learn and master on their own. And the secondary effect, which is equally as valuable, is the tremendous support that parents receive from one another.
It's meant an opportunity again to speak out on behalf of the children and explain to the residents what it's about to have a child with a chronic illness and to provide for that child every day.
You have to really take into account what happens when the child goes out of the hospital.
When approached by Project DOCC in the spring of 1997, the United Hospital Fund was pleased to award a grant which it saw as a major opportunity to leverage significant change in the way in which pediatricians are trained and families are supported in the provision of care to chronically ill children.
Eventually, some children may be cured of their diseases. Other children have diseases which will impact the quality of their lives as adults. Still others live in families where, despite efforts to the contrary, the disease prevails. Parents teaching residents throughout the country, Project DOCC, can change the direction of pediatric training and make a difference by explaining to doctors why and how they need them in a partnership, and by aggressively pursuing, with the help of their doctors, nurses, educators, and community service providers, a fulfilling quality of life for the children and their families.